In the last stream, we were working on setting up the Draconic Evolution fusion crafting right here, and the problem that we ran into at the end of the last episode is that if we wanted to automate the production of these Wyvern fusion crafting injectors, we needed to continually provide a redstone signal to the fusion crafting core to trigger all of the subsequent crafts after the first one. And what I've gone ahead and done between streams is I've just gone ahead and placed down two vanilla Minecraft observers pointing at each other, and these now produce a redstone signal from each side that emits regularly enough to trigger this when it needs to be triggered. And as you can see in here, we now have 64 of these Wyvern fusion crafting injectors. We're going to put those right back in because what we need to do now is upgrade those to the Draconic fusion crafting injectors, because of course the whole point of this setup for us is to try and get the Chaos Shard. We're trying to make this tiny Chaos Fragment. For that, we need 54, I think it was, of these antimatter crystals. All of these need to be on Draconic pedestals. And so we don't quite need 64 of them, but I'm probably just going to do 64 because it's easier. That way we definitely know we have the right number, and we can also just kind of set it and forget it as long as we have all of these items right here. And in order to get these items, the only one we don't have is Awakened Draconium. The Awakened Draconium is another recipe that requires fusion crafting, but it also requires this Dragon Heart, and the Dragon Heart is a mob drop that we can acquire via fighting the End Dragon. And so for that, we're going to have to make the End Portal, which I believe is craftable for us here. It is indeed. To make the End Portal frames, we need 5 Wyvern cores, 1 Endstone, and 3 blocks of Enderium. I think all of those are EMCable. I'm fairly certain we have Enderium EMC'd, and we can also very quickly do something like this, get a stack of it, teach our system how to make the blocks of it, and then we can just grab the blocks of Enderium, and we're good to go. The Wyvern cores we've already taught our system as well, and the Endstone should also be in here. It is indeed, and so all of those can go directly into our induction smelter, boom, boom, and boom, and that is going to very slowly but surely produce the End Portal frames for us. We want 12 of these in total in order to be able to build a standard portal. We also, of course, are going to need some Eyes of Ender as well. Between streams, I did go ahead and throw down a Watch of Flowing Time back here. Not to make this faster, I was trying to make the Advanced Inscriber faster. However, unfortunately, this does not work. It doesn't actually make the Advanced Inscriber faster. Not that it's really too big of a problem because the Inscriber is already pretty fast. Back over here, we've got 12 portals. Fantastic. And so let's go ahead and place these down maybe right about here. We'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Nice. We can then take our Eyes of Ender. We can do the same thing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. You do want to be careful when placing these down because you can't pick these back up. So as soon as they're down, they are down forever. And so now we should be able to head on through and fight the End Dragon, which I don't think is going to be a particularly difficult fight. We've got an unobtainium sword, and we've got a full set of unobtainium armor, and so unless the End Dragon is just staggeringly difficult in this pack, which I would be surprised at, I think we should kind of be fine. Let's go see if we can't make this happen, and it might be easier if we do maybe a small tunnel here, just to dig our way out, and then, presumably, somewhere over here is our End Dragon friend. So, I don't know. Yeah, I figured that our armor would be good enough to kind of survive the hits of these crystals here, which is kind of what makes this so much easier than it normally would be, because I'm almost certain that the End Dragon kind of just isn't going to be able to deal any damage to us, and on top of that, we're going to be able to get so close with our creative flight and the speed at which we have our creative flight that we should just be able to fly up and then use our unobtainium sword here to very quickly deal a large amount of damage to the End Dragon, making the fight substantially easier and hopefully much quicker. Now, I don't know if this is just like a render distance thing. I think it is. I don't know why it's set to 6 by default here. Let me up that to like 18 so I can actually see where the dragon is. And then let's see if we can't just kind of fly over and land a few hits here. The fact that we can't get close is a slight problem, but you'll see that even though he kind of rejects us a bit, we still do so much damage in the one hit that we get in that this is completely fine. And we should be like 2 or 3 more hits away from ending this, especially if we can get him to land. And by him, I mean her, of course, to land, then we should get this done very quickly. Come on. One more hit. One more hit. Just one more hit. There we go. Very easy, very straightforward. This is going to land, and I believe it just drops the heart. It does right there. Look at that. Boom. This is actually all that we need, but we might as well take whatever other drops we get from this as well. This doesn't have an EMC value. However, I think we only really need it to make the Awakened Draconian blocks. I don't think we need it to make the Piglich heart here. I don't think this is required. Oh, maybe it is required, actually, in terms of making these unobtainium alloys. Interesting. I had actually not seen this. That's completely fine. Of course, we can always come back and re-summon the dragon using the end crystals, and so we can always do that if we need more dragon hearts. For now, we can head on back through the portal, and we should be able to drop this into our fusion crafting system to make Awakened Draconium. Now, in order to do that, we are going to have to upgrade our pedestals, because the recipe right here, you'll see, is tier Wyvern, and so we need to get 7 of the Wyvern fusion crafting injectors down to make this work. And so basically, it should just be a case of breaking our pre-existing Draconic fusion crafting injectors and replacing those with the upgraded Wyvern versions. And once they're all down over in here, we should be able to shift-click the recipe in as soon as we grab some Draconic cores and some blocks of Draconium. So Draconic cores, I'm fairly certain we have, and blocks of Draconium we also have. Nice, cool. So can I shift-click this in? I can. And that's going to start automatically thanks to the fact that the redstone signal is being applied continually, and it really shouldn't take too long here to produce our first 4 blocks of Awakened Draconium, which thankfully do have an EMC value, and as you can see in the top left-hand corner, we now have so much EMC that it's starting to take up quite a large amount of space on the screen. We've got 80 quintillion EMC, and more being generated, of course, by all of our final tier power flowers over here. There is our Awakened Draconium. Let's drop that into the tablet. Fantastic. And so now, if we wanted to upgrade the remaining Wyvern fusion crafting injectors, these 56 here, we can just place those in with the Awakened Draconium, diamonds, and Wyvern cores. And so let's grab a few stacks of diamond, let's grab a few stacks of Wyvern cores, and of course, let's grab a few stacks of Draconium blocks, and in here, we should be able to shift those in. Fantastic, let's go do 48. I look like I'm out of diamonds. We definitely do need more than 48, so let's do a few more stacks here, and let's try that one more time. There we go. Okay, so now we've got 56 of all those in. The rest can go back into the tablet, of course. And now, slowly but surely, these are going to produce the Draconic Fusion Crafting Injectors. We could just leave these here, and over time, slowly but surely, this should get done. Although the Twitch chat has suggested that we might be able to utilize the Watch of Flowing Time here with the Dark Matter pedestals to make this a little bit faster. I'm not entirely certain if that's going to work. I know you can accelerate the second part, the crafting part. I don't know if you can accelerate the charging part, but we can give it a go. If we do something like this and turn that on, is this faster? So the problem we're running into here, I think, is that the redstone signal there is being applied to the pedestal over and over again. Now, one slight problem that we might run into here is that we actually can't pick up the pedestal with our current pickaxe. I believe if you want to pick up the pedestal, you need a dark matter pickaxe at the very least. And I think we should be able to make that happen, actually. Yeah, we totally can. With that, I should finally be able to break these pedestals. Good stuff. And is this going faster? I think the charging might be going at the same speed. It's actually hard to tell if we turn this off. But the crafting is definitely made faster, whereas the charging kind of just goes at the speed it goes at, which is unfortunate. And it's also nothing to do with the flux point either. Some people ask me, is it because the power is limited? It's limited to 800,000 RF per tick. You can click bypass limit, but that doesn't make it any faster. It still goes at the same speed, unfortunately. I'm not quite sure why, but I think it's just a limit of the mod. Like, the mod just wants it to take a little bit of time here, which is fine. And so we'll just leave that going, and that is going to slowly but surely produce the 64 Draconic Fusion Crafting Injectors, which should be all that we need. This craft here doesn't require the Chaotic Fusion Crafting Injectors, so we don't have to upgrade to the highest tier. We just need the Draconic versions, which we should have fairly shortly. And then at that point, we just have to get a ton of these antimatter crystals, and for that, of course, we need a ton of antimatter. Over here, this system has been chugging away between streams. We currently have 8,828 antimatter. We need about 27,000, so we're kind of just over a third of the way there, and so we're still waiting for those to come in slowly but surely. Between streams, I have made a few tweaks to the base. Down here, I've gone ahead and made some new runes for our Blood Altar. I made a couple more of the runes of self-sacrifice, I made a few more of the runes of speed, and I made a few more of the runes of augmented capacity. All runes that we've made before, and all basically the same as before as well. Essentially just making the altar a slightly better version of what we had previously. It now has a capacity of 170,000, I believe. Yeah, 178,000 in total. And now, whenever we use our dagger, you'll see that we're at 145,000 currently. If we use the dagger just once, it goes up to 178. So we get over 30,000 life points per use of the dagger. And of course, that combined with these life stones means that we should be able to get a staggering amount of life essence very quickly. And so, whilst we wait for all of this to kind of work its way into being done, I kind of want to start with the end questline here, and I want to start looking at crafting some of this stuff. So we need to make the infinity ingot. To do that, we need two things. The first thing is all of these ingots is what we need. The second thing is the infinity catalyst. I'll bookmark this as well. If we're going to make the infinity ingot, we do need to get 60 of these mechanical crafters, and we need to set them up in this specific formation. And so, thankfully, the mechanical crafters do have an EMC value, and so we can get a stack of those very quickly. And I think we're going to set up a wall of mechanical crafters right about here in this specific pattern. So we've got one kind of dead center, and I do want to make it centered with the base here, which I think is right about there, like that. And then we've got like a gap, and then I think it's like 2. And then let me just quickly check here. We've got a gap, and then 3 on both sides. Perfect. So you and you. Nice. And so I'm going to quickly build up a wall that looks like this. And eventually we get something that looks like this. A little bit chaotic, but I believe this is what we need in order to craft our infinity ingot. And so from here, we can probably just go ahead and connect this up to our pre-existing setup further down here. Let me grab a cogwheel. And I'm actually fairly certain that those do have an EMC value, right? Cogwheel, do we have those saved? We don't. They do have an EMC value, though, and so I can teach it and then grab a ton of them going forward. Shaft is the same, which, again, apparently it's been so long since we've done anything related to create that we've not even bothered to EMC these, but let's do this and this. We'll grab some shaft here, and then let's go and, I guess, kind of just run it like this. Of course, I do wish that that would go down sideways, like that. And then from there, we also probably want to get some kind of gearbox as well. There are a lot of crafters here, but I think this should be fine. Do we have a gearbox? We do not. I also assume that I've probably not taught gearboxes here. I have not. However, we should be able to quickly steal one of our pre-existing gearboxes from, let's say, here. And then if we just quickly teach that like so, we can then get as many of these as we like. We'll put one of them here. I do want vertical gearboxes. Let's do one of those, preferably right about there. And then I'm going to replace that one just because I think it's going to look better if we do this. And then we can run the shaft all the way up. We're almost certainly going to have to slow this down, of course. But if we do this, that is now connected up. And down here, we can bring this right down to a reasonable speed. So let's try 30. 30 is too low. Let's try 20. 20 is fine. 24 is also fine. 27, still fine. 29, 28, 27. Okay, 27 is our highest. That's fine. And so now all of these are spinning. They're all good to go. It's not particularly fast. The final thing that we have to do is just use our wrench to rotate these so that they all point to one final destination. In our case, let's grab a chest and let's just throw that down, let's say right about here. And so we're going to use our wrench to rotate all of these to point towards that chest. And there we go. So it's a little haphazard, but I'm fairly certain that all of these now eventually point down to that chest. Some of them go a little bit of a roundabout way of getting there, but I'm pretty sure that eventually they'll all end up right here, at which point the craft will be done. And so now, I think what we'll probably do here is I'm going to unbookmark some of the stuff up here, and I might just go ahead and bookmark all of the ingots that we need to make, because I think a good number of these we can probably tick off right away, and we can just leave them in the wall. We don't necessarily have to hold on to them until a later date. We can just start filling this in now and then kind of untick them off in JEI once we've put them where they need to be on the wall. You know, things like iron and copper, we of course already have. Some of the things here are a little bit more expensive. Some of them we need for other crafts as well. Like neutronium is one that we're probably going to want to set up sooner rather than later here, because we need neutronium in order to get the singularities required for the infinity catalyst. Awakened draconium, of course, we just unlocked. Netherite we of course have as well. And so real quick, let's see what we have here. So draconium we have definitely already got. It's over in here. Let me grab at least one, and let's place that into the top left spot, preferably in ingot form. Perfect. So that's going to go right about there. Easy. And then we can take that off the list. Let's go ahead and also, I guess, temporarily, maybe do something like this. That might make it easier if I can quite see where things are. Solium ingots. I don't think we have any solium ingots. However, I also don't know if they're too difficult to make. To make it, I don't know if we can get prosperity shards as part of the problem with that. So I assume there must be another recipe, because the solium dust is easy enough. It's soul dust that is bulk haunted, and soul dust is smooth soulstone, which is soulstone, which is cobbled soulstone, which is blackstone. So we can run through that chain and get the soul dust and get the solium, but then, oh, apparently we can get them from the end. That makes a tremendous amount of sense, chat, actually. If we quickly head through here, I assume there's some end ore around that we can harvest for prosperity. There's also some draconium ore as well, but of course, at this point in time, not really something we need. Here is the end prosperity ore. Let's swap our ultimine back to shapeless, and boom, perfect. Doesn't have any MC value, not that that's really a problem. Headed back, though, we should be able to put all of that together to get our solium ingot. Just as soon as we get our flint and steel back out, we can relight our soul sand fire, that being this guy over here. For now, we don't really need the water going forward. We can always get another bucket via EMC. And so let me quickly check that crafting chain again. So we needed to go through quite the process here. We need soul dust, which is smooth soulstone, soulstone, cobbled soulstone, blackstone. Blackstone, I think we have. We do. Let's bulk haunt that on our depot. That gets us cobbled soulstone. The cobbled soulstone we can then smelt into soulstone, and we'll EMC it just for the sake of it. I don't think we're going to need this going forward, but just in case we do, I don't want to not have it when it's needed. Let's also do something like this to make that a bit faster. Soulstone can go in here as well, and then I believe we smelt that again to get smooth soulstone. Again, we can put that in here to learn it, and then the smooth soulstone goes and gets put in front of a lava. Okay, so let's get rid of you. Let's grab a bucket of lava out of our arcane transmutation tablet, and we'll place that down, of course, just above the soul sand, right about here. Place you down to cook, and then once that's done, we can get rid of the lava, relight the soul sand, and do it one more time to get ourselves the solium dust. Like so. And again, real quick, before we do that, let me do this, just in case we need more soul dust. And there we go, solium dust. That can go in here, and with that, we should be able to make a solium ingot, I believe. Oh wait, the solium dust doesn't have any MC value. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. In that case, I just need one more soul dust, which we can put down right about here. Again, we do only need, thankfully, one of these infinity ingots, because as soon as we have one infinity ingot, we can then duplicate it with the refined radiance. So all of this stuff really only has to be made once. In our case here, we can do 2 solium with 1 prosperity ingot. Actually, not a prosperity shard. The prosperity ingot is just 4 prosperity shards around 1 iron ingot, and of course, we have no iron ingots inside of our simple storage system. That is easily rectifiable. Boom, and boom. Nice. So that's 2 ticked off. Good. We'll get rid of that. Next up is duralumin ingot. This one is one that I've not heard of, and I'm not entirely certain of the crafting chain. It might be an alloy. It is. It's aluminum and copper. That's actually a completely fine alloy that we can definitely make over here. And there we go. 1 block of aluminum and 1 copper ingot later, we have our duralumin ingot. Chat is right here, and I have put these ingots in the wrong spot. I need to put this here and this over here. That should not be a bucket of lava. That should be solium, and that's because we have the infinity catalyst in the top corner as well. And so next up after that, we've got soul steel ingot. This one is a Gaussum ingot with some molten wavy, or we can get molten soul steel. Molten wavy here is crew steel, durasteel, and manulin. Hepatizen and bowlion, red beryl, and oh my goodness, this one is okay. Well, we'll come back to this one later on down the line. Real quick, I'm just gonna go ahead and put in all the ones that we already have. Things like iron, things like copper, things like netherite, and then we'll move on, I think, and take a look at the infinity catalysts, and we'll come back later to get all of these kind of rogue alloys placed in. Okay, so we actually had more of the ingots than I thought we would initially have, And these here are the ingots that we don't have. So we had draconium, we had solium, we had duralumin, which we made before. We've got crystal matrix, we've got prosperity, gold, nether gobber, we've got pig iron, we got that from the pig real early on in the series. We've got the end gobber ingot, we have the vibranium, the oldemodium, the amethyst bronze, we've got the gobber ingot, the iron ingot, the copper ingot, the hepatizen, the awakened draconium, we've got pyrite and kepu, we made those at the same time, and we've got unobtainium. So those are all of the ingots, and netherite if I didn't mention it, but those are all the ingots that we currently have, and these are all the ingots required still to go. Some of them are much easier to make than the others, but the next one that I want to focus on is neutronium, because as I mentioned a second ago, in order for all of this to come together, we do need 4 infinity catalysts, and for these, we need a bunch of singularities, and so in order to make these singularities, we need a neutronium compressor. The neutronium compressor, surprise, surprise, requires neutronium ingots. So we only need to get 1, because it does have an EMC value, and to make 1, I believe we need to make a neutronium essence that we can then craft into a pile of neutrons, then we can kind of craft up from there using EMC. The neutronium essence is made in the Draconic Fusion Crafting Injector using a Awakened Draconium Essence, which we, unfortunately, I don't think can, I don't think we can downcraft this from our pre-existing Awakened Draconium. I think we're going to have to get these essences and craft it up. And then we also need to get a Mystical Flower Essence, a Dye Essence, a Coral Essence, and an Insanium Block. Over here, this is now done, so we do have 56 Draconic Fusion Crafting Injectors. And so now it's going to be a case of kind of, again, replacing these, but now we have to place these down in such a way that we have a 3x3x3 on every single side of the Fusion Crafting Injector. So I think that we want to do something like this. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we want the next row to be on the bottom like that. And of course, we don't want them facing down. I don't know if I can rotate them. Annoyingly, it seems like I can't. That's fine. Let me get rid of this. And let me get rid of this. And let me get rid of this. And then I think what will probably make it easier is if we, real quick, grab a ton of flux points, because we're going to need to provide power to all of these, of course. And somebody in the YouTube comments did point out, or suggest, that we might be able to use a flux configurator. And if we hold that in our offhand as we place down the flux points, it might put them down pre-configured. It doesn't, unfortunately. That would have been nice. Not that it's too difficult for us to take the wand and right-click them after the fact to configure them to the network thereafter. But real quick, I'm going to go ahead and put down all of the flux points, and then onto those flux points, we'll put down all of the fusion crafting injectors. And then once we have all the fusion crafting injectors, we'll be ready for the Chaos Shard. We'll just be waiting on the antimatter. We are almost halfway there on the antimatter. And of course, while we wait for the antimatter, we can look at getting the neutronium essence. And there we go. You do have to set it up like this. You need to put 9 on each side of the fusion crafting core. These are all the same distance away. This might get interrupted by the blocks in the middle here, but I actually don't know if that is the case. It might still work just fine. Of course, right now, it doesn't really matter too much because we're not quite yet ready in terms of the amount of antimatter. Speaking of antimatter, we've yet to complete the quest to actually have the antimatter, which was also a prerequisite for a lot of the quests on this page right here. You'll see a lot of these ingot quests are now getting completed because we've completed the antimatter quest. But anyway, over here, we now need to see about making this neutronium essence. It requires a ton of power, an insanium block, and then the mystical flower essence, the dye essence, and the coral essence. The insanium block, pretty straightforward. We just need 9 insanium essence, which should be a lot easier now that we have a faster blood altar, now that we generate more life points with every use of the dagger, and now that we have a higher capacity blood altar in general. Getting these 9 insanium should be fairly straightforward. The coral essence, dye essence, and mystical flower essence, though, I think those are going to be a little trickier for us to get. So these, by the looks of it, I think are basically all just made in the biolab, apart from the mystical flower essence, which is just a crafting together of the dragon essence, cyanite essence, and sulfur essence, which again are all made, you guessed it, kind of in the biolab, apart from the dragon essence, which requires chicken essence, nether star essence, and end essence. There's just a lot of essence crafting, like a ton of essence crafting, which is probably going to end up being a little bit tedious, but I don't think it's going to be difficult. It's just going to be annoying, I think, more than anything else. So it looks like we use the dye essence here to make the coral essence, and then do we use the flower essence to make the dye essence? We don't. It's iridium and terrasteel. So I feel like iridium is one we already have, although apparently I would be mistaken on that. Iridium here is made from platinum, titanium, slime steel, and zinc. We've definitely made this before, I think. And then terrasteel is yellorium, emerald, and experience. That experience essence seems to not be makeable, but I assume it must be. And then emerald, we can get from blocks of emerald, that's fine. And yellorium, we can make with aluminum and gas, that seems fine. I don't know if there's anything here that we don't have the ability to get. The chicken essence, we're probably going to have to get a chicken to spawn in order to try and get that chicken essence. We have to kill it with the scythe to make that happen. And we get from endstone, that seems fine. And so, yeah, I think, do we get experience from, oh no, it looks like we get experience essence from killing mobs with the scythe anyway, and then sometimes you get the mob essence. I see, that makes complete sense. All right, so this seems kind of fine. I think it's just going to be a little bit tedious. So I started making the Insanium essence here because I was kind of procrastinating on making these essences. However, the Twitch chat has pointed out there is indeed a questline for this, which I think will make it easier. The Lexica Essentia right here does show us the horrific web of essences required, and the final one is Neutronium essence. And so we're going to follow this all the way down. The Neutronium here requires the Mystical Flower, the Dye Essence, and another essence. I don't know why it says Awakened Draconium here. Maybe this has not been tweaked. Oh, no, it does require the Awakened Draconium there. That's my bad. It also does require, though, the Coral Essence. I don't see Coral Essence on here, although the Coral Essence is mostly made of other essence. And so, yeah, if you're wondering how to make things happen, this line here makes it a little bit easier because it mostly shows you what is required for different things along the chain. You can see Iridium here needs the zinc, the platinum, the titanium, and the slime steel. It's maybe a little bit easier than flicking through all of the recipes in JEI. Okay, so a fair bit of bio-labbing later. So we have the dye essence and we have the coral essence. These actually weren't too bad. The coral was just dye and nature. The dye is just iridium and terrasteel. Iridium we've made before, we were just missing platinum, which was easy enough. And then terrasteel, we already had experience essence. The emerald essence you get from a block of emerald, which I just placed down. And then yellorium you get from gas and aluminum. Aluminum we already had, and gas you get from the angel block, which we also did have down until I broke it just now. I didn't think it would break that easily, but we can make another one if we need it. There's the emerald block. As for the awakened draconium, we have all the stuff to make that. Sapphire, we've made before. We already had the ruby essence. It was just a case of getting molten enderium. That was not too bad. And then draconium, we've made before, and thankfully I had enough stuff left to make another one of these. I just needed to make one more insanium. And then hepatizen we also were able to make again with cobalt, nether, and copper, all of which we had. And so, boom, there is our awakened draconium essence. That is going to go in the center of the craft. That's going to go right in here. And then the other items were, of course, dye essence, which can go on one side. We have the coral essence, which is going to go on another side. And then the remaining items after that is just one, actually. It's the block of insanium, which we can make. I've crafted all the insanium for that. We'll put that on another one of the sides. We'll put that right about here. Why not? And then the final piece of the puzzle is the mystical flower essence, which is kind of by far and away the most difficult part of this whole equation. For this, we need sulfur essence, cyanide essence, and dragon egg essence. So I've made the sulfur essence. We have that. This one also fairly straightforward. It was dirt essence, which we have with saltpeter. Saltpeter, just stone and redstone. Super easy. The cyanide was also not too bad. It was fluix and amethyst bronze. Amethyst bronze we had. Fluix is amethyst instead of quartz, both of which we had. And so cyanide, not too bad. The tricky part is the dragon egg essence. For this, we need one chicken essence, one end essence, and one nether star essence. So the end essence we have, you just put down an end stone and then right click it with the scythe. Easy enough. The chicken essence though, we have to kill a chicken with the scythe, much like we did with creepers earlier in the pack. And then the same is true for the nether star essence. For this, we have to kill a wither using the scythe, which is a bit of a pain. So let's see if we can't make any of this work. We do have eggs here, and I think if we EMC the eggs and just grab some more, this might be the fastest way of doing it. If we just get at least one chicken and then kind of turbo that chicken up with seeds, we can then just kill that chicken with the scythe, ideally in just one hit, and we should be good to go. The scythe is pretty powerful. It's nowhere near as powerful as our sword here. Our sword has 233 attack damage. The scythe here only has 21, but I think that should be fine in terms of killing the wither. And there's our chicken essence, especially given that we should be almost indestructible with our unobtainium armor. Now, what I am going to do this time around is maybe get some more tinted glass. Let me see. Did I teach my system how to make it? I did indeed. And I think we'll just build a bigger cage for the wither this time so that the wither can't escape. And then we can do some testing to see. I'm hoping, I don't know how much health the wither has. I don't know if I'll be able to like hit it with this sword and then finish it off with the scythe, or if I'll have to just do it with the scythe all the way to the end. I also don't know if the withering effect of the wither is going to kill me real fast. It also might not be a terrible idea to kind of build a box with a hole in that we could use to fight the wither so that we can kind of cheese the fight a little bit, but we'll give it some testing and we'll see what works. Real quick though, I'm just going to build this box and then grab the EMCable items to build our first wither. Alright, so unfortunately the wither skeleton skulls here don't have an EMC value, but we do still have all of the items required here to make more skulls, and so we should be able to make this happen. What I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure we've got enough. Let me organize my stuff here. I'm going to make sure we've got the tinted glass here, because we're going to put this down. I've built it one taller than before, so that hopefully the wither just doesn't escape out of the top, but this time around we're going to do something like this, and I'm hopeful that we should be able to whack the wither with the sword. I'm being told that it might have 250 attack, 250 health, sorry. And so I'm hopeful here that we can do one hit with the normal sword. That takes it pretty low on health. And then we can do the remaining hits with the scythe. And look at that. It's just that easy in terms of acquiring the Nether Star Essence. And with that, we have everything for the Dragon Egg Essence. And if we get rid of that, we should now have everything for the Mystical Flower Essence. And if we get rid of that, we should now have everything that we need to finish this craft over here. So let's place in our Mystical Flower, and if all is well, we should be good to go. Now, it does say charging, and I have a feeling that this might take years, because years might be an exaggeration. It might take a while, though, if this is being done correctly, because it says it needs 2.14 Giga FE. Are we out of power? We're not out of power. We are losing power. Did I turn off the limit? The limit is bypassed on this. Let me check the limit on the other ones here. Bypass the limit, and bypass the limit. So, oh, that says output 800,000 though. Oh, the limit's over here. Hold on, let me turn this off. There we go. Now we're really tanking through the power. Okay, good. Let me grab some uraninite. And let's drop that back into the reactor to start producing our 500 million RF per tick. That's really quickly using up our power there. But hopefully, this is charging much, much faster. There we go. That is very nice. Okay, good. I was going to say, we need a ton of power to get this complete. But over here, this is working. And finally, we have one Neutronium Essence. It looks like we've missed a couple of quests somewhere along the line here. Like, apparently didn't register the Ruby, Sapphire, and Awakened Draconium, and so it's not giving us the quest for that, but that's fine. We can go ahead and craft this down into the piles of neutrons, and if we put that in here, we should be able to quickly craft up the piles into nuggets, and then the nuggets into ingots. Nice, and now we hopefully can take as many neutronium ingots as we like. Cool, up to 2 billion currently, because we're 157 quintillion EMC, which is a nice small amount for us. And so we need the neutronium compressor. That's this guy right here. For that, we need neutronium ingots. We need to craft it over in the extreme crafting table here. So let's take a stack of these. Let me also put some stuff back at this point because we don't really need all of this. Also, it turns out I did pick the angel block up. I just didn't notice it. And we also don't need a lot of what we're carrying around on us currently, especially all of these kind of rogue essences. Those can go back, at least for the time being. And so let's see. We need crystal matrix ingots, which we have made before. We'll take a stack of those. We also need iron blocks, which we have definitely made before. We'll take a stack of those, along with some hoppers and some redstone and a neutronium block. That's fine. The neutronium block we will quickly teach, and we'll take at least one for us. And then redstone. Was redstone required? Redstone was required. And hoppers, of course. Hoppers actually are taught. Perfect. I was worried for a second they might not be. But over here, can I do this? No, we're missing neutronium ingots, of course. Let me take those, and let's try that one more time. Boom. Nice. That gets us one neutronium compressor. And so the neutronium compressor here is able to make the singularities for us. We need a couple of singularities. Let me bookmark that again, and let's see what we need. We need redstone, iron, netherite, amethyst, lead, quartz, copper, silver, nickel, gold, iridium, emerald, diamond, lapis, and tin. Most of those should be fine, I think. Famous last words, I guess. But if we go ahead and put this down, again, it's probably going to be beneficial to put this down somewhere close to our massive array of watches of flowing time. So I'll put it down right about here. And essentially, for example, let's start with the iron singularity, this one right here. We need to put 15,000 iron into the neutronium compressor, 15,000 iron blocks, that is, and then it's going to spend a little bit of time and I believe some power to make the iron singularity. We need to get 4 infinity catalysts to make 1 infinity ingot, and again, we only need to make 1 infinity ingot. So we need 4 of each of these singularities. Much like in the last episode, it should just be a case here of getting an EMC link, at least for all of the items that are EMCable. I don't think it really matters which EMC link we get, so we'll do something like this. We'll get ourselves a pipe. We'll also get ourselves one of the netherite pipe upgrades. Again, at some point, we will look at upgrading to the higher tier, but for now, I think ultimate is going to be good enough. So we'll do this. We'll set you to extract. That's a block of iron, Isaac. That's not a personal EMC link. Boom. We'll set you to extract. We will make that ultimate. Over here, we can put in a block of iron. Just 1, like so. And then that should start putting those in here, I would hope. Maybe it has to go into the top. It does. Okay, fine. And yeah, that should go pretty quickly. It looks like it's filled up the first one. And so that's currently processing itself into a singularity. It is. And then let's go do the second one. And we just have to do this over and over and over again, basically. We have to get 4 iron singularities, then we're going to do the same with redstone. We can unbookmark this. Then we're going to do the same with netherite. Blocks of netherite there, that's fine. Amethyst. The block of amethyst should be fine. Do we have any amethyst shards? We do. Nice. Let me do this. Let's take this. I don't know if I've taught my system amethyst blocks or shards, but we'll teach them both real quick. That's going to be easy enough. Lead, also easy enough. Quartz, very easy. Copper, silver, nickel. I'm fairly certain all these have EMC. Iridium doesn't have EMC. That's the only one that's going to be tricky, I think. Emerald does have an EMC. Diamond has an EMC, of course. Lapis, EMC. And tin has an EMC. So the only one here that isn't basically just a big EMC dump is iridium. Iridium, thankfully, requires less. We need 250 per singularity, so 1,000 iridium blocks total. 1,000 iridium blocks is, of course, going to be 9,000 iridium ingots, which we are going to get via 9,000 iridium dust and the alchemical reaction chamber. The 9,000 iridium dust is just us smelting 9,000 iridium chunks, which, I guess, macerating them first, which should be pretty straightforward. The macerator is very fast. I did put it down between streams, so we'll take like a stack. We can put that in here, and that's going to very quickly process all of that. And so what we might do is we might put down another personal EMC link, pump the iridium chunks in, and then put like a storage drawer down, or maybe even the ALC to automatically process the iridium into iridium ingots, and then we can just craft them and drop them in to make the iridium singularities. But we can go ahead and turn this off now because we don't need any more iron singularities. We've got 11, which is way more than we need. Annoyingly, I don't know if there's a way to empty this out. I think we might just have to kind of pick it up and put it back down if we end up going too far on one of these. But yeah, I'm going to quickly run through and create all of the singularities here for the Infinity Catalyst. All right, so I've made what I believe to be basically all of the singularities apart from the Iridium singularity. The only one we had a little trouble with was lead, because for whatever reason we didn't have any lead in our transmutation table, nor did we have any in our system, but lead was easy enough to make with essence. I just made some of the lead essence, then crafted that into a lead ingot. The lead essence was just uranium essence and air essence, both of which we had, so that was easy enough. Over here, I have put down another EMC link for the iridium chunks. That goes over to the macerator, turns it into iridium dust. That then gets piped up and into the alchemical reaction chamber right here. You do have to pipe the dust into the side. You have to pipe the ingots out of the bottom. And at the top here, we've got another EMC link that is producing these sanguine reverters. And so those are coming in from the top. The dust is coming in from the side, and then it's all being pumped out over into here, and we've got over 1,000 ingots, and so we are not quite there, right? I think we needed 9,000 in total to get all of the blocks required, and chat is right, actually, in that we could put a compacting drawer here. I forget every time. Do we have compacting drawers saved? I'd be surprised if we do. We don't, but I think we do have everything it takes to make them saved. Fantastic, and so if we do this, we can kind of move you over to here. We do want to keep the draw key in our offhand, do this, and then do this, like so. Annoyingly, that doesn't work. Hold on, why doesn't that work? It might be the case that we've got to unlock it, take these out, maybe craft a block first, and then put the block in? Nope, also doesn't work. Okay, well, in that case then, forget about the compacting drawer. That thing is useless in this scenario. We'll just go ahead and put this back right about here, and that's going to continue to fill up with iridium, and of course we can just take all the iridium out and use it as and when we need it. Real quick, what I will do here is I will go ahead and I guess we could probably start putting things in here, although probably not actually, because in order to craft the Infinity Catalyst, we do need the things like the Ultimate Stew, which also have to be crafted in the Extreme Crafting Table. And so what I'll do real quick is I'll just grab a regular chest here, ideally from our tablet, and we'll put down maybe a double chest right about here. Boom. And boom. That way we can kind of deposit all of these singularities for use later when they're required. And over here, we can go ahead and just take out all of the iridium and begin crafting that down into iridium blocks. And then we can put those iridium blocks into the neutron compressor to make the iridium singularities. And again, we only need 4 in total. All right, and there we go, 4 iridium singularities. That really didn't take too long, actually, with this setup that we have over here that's pumping out iridium at a staggering speed. And so now, in terms of making the Infinity Catalyst, we've got all of the singularities. All of the crystal matrix ingots blocks here are just EMC. All of the neutronium blocks here are also just EMC, so all of that is fairly straightforward. There are also a few other items here that we already have. For example, antimatter. We've already got at least 1 over here we're currently at. 17,500 antimatter, so maybe about 10,000 antimatter away from the shard that we need, but we can drop one of these in here. We also needed 1 singularity, which we do have over here. We'll drop that in as well. On top of that, temporal pouch is easy enough. We need to make a fresh one. The creative essence is also not too bad. It's 10 insanium inside the neutronium compressor, so that's not too bad either. The final star shard is, of course, just EMC. We have that in here. We can take one of those out and drop it in there. Perfect. The only tricky bits here, I think... well, I guess we can't make this until we have the shard, because we need the draconic reactor. That makes sense. So in order to get the reactor here, we do need some chaos shards, and for the chaos shards, we need that antimatter to finish up. The other tricky bits here, because some of the other bits, like the ender gobber foo, are not too bad. We've made this before, I think, and then the record fragments could be tricky, but I think we can do this with essence, creeper essence, skeleton essence, and then dye in the blank record. The blank record is, again, skeleton and creeper essence. This should be fairly straightforward to make some record fragments, and both the record discs and the fragments both have AMC, so that's fine. The dragon star here does require the nether star, which we have, the gobber ingots, which we have, and then 4 dragon eggs, which we don't have, but we can go and get the one from the end and then just EMC it to get more. Not a problem. Ender's pearls, easy enough. 2 of those are just ender pearls, end stone, neutronium ingots, and nether stars. Again, most of that has an EMC value. The tricky bits here, Ultimates 2, I think, is also very straightforward. Most of these shouldn't be too hard for us to get. A lot of it's just nature essence crafting to get the different pieces, and then they all have EMC, so that's fine, as does the Ultimates 2, so not a problem. The only tricky bit, apparently, cosmic meatballs require rabbit meat, which we don't currently have. So we're going to have to find at least 1 rabbit. And then on top of that, we also need to get all of these matter clusters. We need 5 matter clusters per Infinity Catalyst, and we need 4 Infinity Catalysts, right? So we need 20 matter clusters. Each one needs 40,000 singularities, so we need to massively increase the rate at which we're producing these singularities right here. We currently have 6,000 of them, which is not even enough to make 1. We need 40,000 multiplied by 5. That's just to get 1 Infinity Catalyst, because it's 40,000 per here, and we need 5 of them per, and then we multiply that by 4, we need 800,000, I believe, singularities in order to get this going, and we have currently 6,000. So we're going to have to massively increase the speed at which this is going, and I think to do that, we're going to have to finally kind of cave and craft this Infinity Pipe upgrade. For this, we just need an iridium circuit with a carbon plate. So the carbon plate, I was going to say we might already have. That was wishful thinking. At the very least, we can make it fairly quickly. Let me disconnect this guy from the macerator for now, because we don't really need any more iridium at this point. I imagine this drawer is completely full on 2048. It is indeed. Over in here, we can do something like this to get a bunch of coal dust, and then we can craft that through to the chunk. And then making another iridium circuit here really shouldn't be too difficult. We have a basic circuit. Upgrading that is pretty straightforward, and then upgrading that again is also not too bad. It's basically just all stuff we've done before, and should be fairly easy, at which point we'll get this Infinity Pipe upgrade, which should be able to pump out even faster into the matter condenser, so from here to here, and then we should be able to move even more singularities over, and hopefully make this much, much quicker. Alright, so 2 iridium circuits later. I made an extra one just in case we want to upgrade both pipes to be super fast, but we should now be able to use this to make the Infinity Pipe upgrade. We need 2 carbon plates. I believe I have 1 carbon plate here, so if I do this, oops, maybe I threw it too far back. This is a carbon plate, right? It is. If I throw it here, I was really hoping that would just kaplunk. Is it the... Oh, it's the other way around, of course. That makes a tremendous amount of sense. Let's put you in here, and let's throw the carbon plate down like that. There we go. That's going to get us our first Infinity Pipe upgrade. Fantastic. And so back up here, if we swap this out, right now, this fills up pretty quickly. let's see if we swap this out for this. Look at that, it's just full. The thing is just, it's full all of the time. And so now this should be going up quicker, but again, I think the limiting factor now is this here, which bizarrely has no upgrade in it whatsoever. And I think, look at that, that is that is something. I think though, we can make that something even better if we get another carbon plate, which of course we can do if we get more coal here. So we just need to macerate some coal. I did need some more machines for this process, so I did re-put down the compressor and the roller here to get things like the iridium plates. But in here, we can take another coal dust. We can do this to make the carbon fibers, and we can take the carbon fibers and do this to get some carbon meshes. I think one is enough because we just compress these into the plates, and then over here, we can just drop the plate again onto this. Kaplunk. That gets us another infinity pipe upgrade, and so now, if we put this in over here, like so, we should see this number going up staggeringly quickly. Again, we do still need 800,000, which means it is still going to take a little bit of time to get us to where we need to be, but we're definitely getting there much, much faster now than we were even just a second ago. And so now we could probably start to look at actually making these. If we go and take the neutronium compressor and we place that down, let's say over here. Again, if we have 3B, I do kind of want, I might rearrange this a little bit. I think I might use the carry-on mod to move this over to here, and then we can move this pipe over to here, because at this point, I kind of want the neutronium compressor to be inside of the area that is sped up, because without it, the neutronium compressor is quite slow. So let's once again set U to extract and give it the infinite pipe upgrade. Here we're going to put down another pipe. This one we'll just use a regular pipe upgrade for, though. I think that's going to be fine, given how fast they're coming in. And if I do this, is that going to work? The answer is maybe. Oh, and of course, as per before, this has to go in the top. I keep making the same mistake. That is perfect. And so now these are going to slowly but surely start getting crafted. They are coming in. Whoops. That's, again, my bad. Let me redo this. You've got to be far enough away from this to be able to see what's inside of it. So we are still gaining singularities, which is good. Despite the fact that they're being sent over here to make the matter clusters, they are still going up in number over here, so I'm making them faster than they're being used, which is kind of to be expected given that we are using the ultimate pipe upgrade here and we're using the infinity pipe upgrade here. We could do something like this as well and put another ultimate pipe upgrade like here, and that would double up the speed at which it's getting extracted, but would still be completely fine. I think we're still going to be gaining in terms of the number that we're getting here. You can see at the bottom there, 3,450, 60, 70, 80. It's going up, which is good. And so, yeah, it shouldn't, I don't think, take us too long to get the 5 needed for one infinity catalyst, and then from there, getting the 20 that we need for all infinity catalysts is going to take a few minutes, but maybe even like a few tens of minutes. But I think in general, it's not really going to take long enough to be a problem, which is perfect. And so now our problem really is antimatter. We're still a little ways away. You know, we need about 8,000 or 9,000 more antimatter before we can make the Chaos Shard. Once we have the Chaos Shard, though, things are going to start, I think, falling into place. Once we have the Chaos Shard, we can start putting things together like the Draconic Reactor. Once we have the Draconic Reactor, I think most everything else in here should be fairly easy to get 4 of. And once we have that 4, we can then, you know, get the 4 Infinity Catalysts. And then from there, it's back to the Infinity Ingot. And so next time, I think we'll come back. We will probably start by working on some of these ingots here. You know, we'll start working on whatever rogue ingots we don't currently have for the wall, the ones that we can make at least. One that looks pretty bad is the cyber steel ingot. People have pointed this one out to me. We need 1 of these, thankfully. The 1 cyber steel ingot, though, requires 90 millibuckets of cyber steel. To make cyber steel, you need molten processor, unobtainium vibranium alloy, and you need molten chorus metal. So the chorus metal, I think, is fine. The unobtainium vibranium alloy should also be fine. It's just unobtainium and vibranium. It does require soul lava, though, which is going to be its own thing that we've got to make. And then it also requires, in order to get 90 millibuckets of molten cyber steel, we need 470 millibuckets of molten processor, and you get 1 millibucket of molten processor from 1 iridium circuit. So we need to make 470 iridium circuits in order to make the 1 cyber steel ingot, which is going to be a fun little setup for us to do in the next episode. And like I said, we'll run through some of the other ingots, things like the Prudentium, the Tertium Imperium, and Supremium, and Insanium should all be fairly straightforward. They're just a case of getting the essences and running them through the fusion crafting. That's not going to be too bad. And yeah, I think the end is in sight here, and the next episode might well be the last episode of the series, and hopefully we can get all of the stuff crafted, get our first Infinity Ingot, and then dupe those Infinity Ingots with the Refined Radiance to get the World Breaker, and then from there, just kind of finish up the pack. We do also have to craft these Piglet hearts here. These are required in order to make these alloys. I think we saw this earlier, which is why we're going to have to get more Dragon Hearts. They also do require gold singularities, and so I did make 3 extra gold singularities here for those hearts, and so all of that should come together quite nicely. Like I said, right now we're just kind of waiting on the antimatter, and actually I guess we could probably also do with setting this up in such a way that we extract the final product, because right now they're actually not being made, which is not ideal. Let me do this and this. Ideally, I do want those to touch. So let me try that one more time. We'll do this, and then we can go and do something like this and like this. And this doesn't even need a pipe upgrade because it's only going to move 1 item out every, minute or so when these are done, which is perfect. Cool. All right. So next time we'll come back. We'll see about finishing the pack, but that is, of course, a problem for future Isaac. For now, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this episode of Project Sacrifice there.